Good morning, students. Welcome back. Welcome back to the session of problem solving methodology. So, problem solving methodology, today's session is part number 15. We have been discussing the different problem solving methodology, their advantages, disadvantages, how they can be used. We will be continuing the same topic today. And today's chapter is, as you all know, it is chapter number 5. The name of the chapter is problem solving methodology and part number 15. So let's get started and have a look of the recap what we have studied in our previous session. So in our previous session we have discussed flowcharts, types of flowcharts, advantages and disadvantages, pseudocodes, coding, testing and debugging. Let me just brief you about these topics what we have studied in our previous classes, that is flowchart. Flowchart is a diagrammatical or pictorial representation of an algorithm or a flowchart. Then we discussed about the types of types of flowcharts. There are two types of flowcharts. One is the program flowchart and the other one is the system flowchart. So let me just brief you about the program flowchart. Program flowchart is a flowchart which represents a sequence or a series of steps where the steps represent a solution to the problem. So the given problem can be solved. To solve that problem, a series of steps has to be written, and that series of steps are called program flowchart. Similarly, we have system flowchart. System flowchart tells that how the data flows in a data processing system. Then we discussed about the advantages and disadvantages of flowcharts. Advantages tells that it is easy to understand and as it is efficient, and the documentation, the other things are easy. Conversion is easy. So similarly, there are disadvantages, and then we studied about the pseudocodes. PSEUDO, pseudo. It is pronounced as pseudocode. So what pseudocode? Like an algorithm, like pseudocode is also a problem solving methodology where we write steps. As we know that algorithms, there is a systematic order or a procedure using which we write algorithms. Whereas the pseudocode, this is also a problem solving methodology where we write the steps, and we write the steps using English statements. So phrases, words, dialogues. So here pseudocodes, there is no rules or strict rules. Here also we write the steps, but the steps can be the English statements or the English phrases or words. Then we discussed about the coding. Coding means writing the steps required to solve the given problem using a computer language or computer or programming languages. Programming languages can be used to write the steps what you have written using algorithm and flowchart. We convert that to computer instructions, and computer instructions are available in computer languages. Using that we start writing the programs. That procedure is called coding. Coding is the actual process of writing computer programs that can be typed and executed in a computer system. Next comes the testing and debugging. Testing means you are running the program by giving sample data as input. Then debugging is Debugging is a process where we find the faults and errors in the program. So, debugging is a process of finding faults and errors in the program and removing them. That is called debugging. We also discussed about the types of errors. There are 4 types of errors: syntax errors, semantic errors, logical errors, and runtime errors. So, let's continue today's session with the topic called documentation. What do we mean by documentation? Once the program is written, executed, and we check for errors and we test that the program works in all the condition. Next is documentation. So, documentation is nothing but a reference material which explains the different topics or the maintenance of the program what we have developed. Documentation is a reference material which explains the use and maintenance of the program for which it has been written. ಸೊ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸತಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಬರೆದು ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಹೌ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ದ program. About that we give the information, and there are 2 types of documentations. One is internal documentation, the other one is the external documentation. So what is internal documentation? Internal documentation is also called as technical documentation. So technical documentation means about the program. There can be some information about the program and that can be written within the program itself. So some information about program, about statements, and all those things can be included within the program itself, and that is called internal documentation. Generally it includes the technical information. So it is meant that it is meant for the programmer who may update the program code at the later stages. For example, so today I have prepared a program and I have maybe my colleague will be updating that program after 6 months or 1 year later. So I want to tell him few information about the program which I can include within the program itself, some technical information. So that is called as internal documentation. So it is done by defining meaningful variables. Comments can be included in the program where we tell what is happening, why we are using these statements, something like that, and presenting the program code clearly. Then we have the external documentation. External documentation means along with the program there can be a separate file, and in that separate file we can maintain the data about the program, about the programmer, or some modules. Then we have the external documentation. External documentation is a document file which will be updated along with the program, a textual information. The program or the application, the additional textual information can be included in the separate file, that is called external documentation. So like when we purchase a new television or any refrigerator or a microwave oven, there will be a reference material given. That reference material will have all the information about how we can use that particular device. So likewise, along with the program there can be a reference material given, so that that can be used by the users, administrators or developers for further usage of the program what we have created, and that information will be maintained separately in a file, that is called external documentation. Then comes the program maintenance. Program maintenance means, so today you have developed a program, after 1 or 2 years your program will become outdated. That means it will become old, and during the course of time there can be some errors that can come, or there can be some features that our program may not support. As one best example I can give you, every day in our phones we will be getting update. So new update is available, do you want to update your phone? So what is updating? Updating means, as the program which is loaded in our phone has become older, so we need to update it by adding new features. So whenever the new update is available, user is asked to update the phone. So maintenance is something related to that. So once a program is created, down the line after several years of usage, our program may become older and it may start giving some errors, or maybe sometimes some concepts or features it will not support. So we need to update it, or we need to maintain it. So maintaining is, we need to make the proper modifications required. There may be some modules which may not require, we can remove those, and there can be some new modules required that can be added to our program. Maintenance is something like we are continuously modifying our program so that it is up to date. So program maintenance is review. So we just look at the program, then we see if anything is required to be added or anything to be removed, modified, and maintenance is a continuous task. So maintenance continuous task, if you want your program to survive, then continuous changes, updations are required to be done to that program, and that is called maintenance. Maintenance is nothing but adding or removing the unwanted modules, adding the required or the new modules, so that our program supports all the concepts. That is called program maintenance. So that is about program maintenance. That is the last problem solving methodology. Then we move on to the programming constructs. Programming construct is nothing but the instructions, the different instructions that can be used in a program. As we discussed a topic called coding. Coding is a process of writing the actual computer instructions. Actual computer instructions that can be typed and executed. And now we will see the 3 types of programming constructs. Programming constructs are nothing but the programming statements, the different types of programming statements. So there are 3 programming statements: sequential, selection and iteration. What is a programming construct? Programming construct is nothing but it's a type of statements that are used in the program. So there are 3 programming constructs: sequential, or it is also called as linear, then we have selection and iteration. So let us check out the first programming construct, that is sequential construct. Sequential construct is nothing but a series of steps, or the program in sequential construct, The program is executed one after the other. The statements are executed one after the other in the order it has been placed. Sequence means sequential construct means, so there is one beginning and the end. From the beginning, so there is one beginning from where the execution starts. The statements are executed one after the other in a sequence or in the order from beginning to end. Sequential construct means in this type of programming statement, the statements are executed one after the other in the order in which they have been placed from the beginning to end. So once the program starts from the beginning, one by one after the other, the statements are executed in the order in which they are placed. And such a execution is called sequential construct. In sequential construct can include three types of statements: input statement, assignment statements, or output statements. Input statements generally include the read or input statements. Then we have output statement, print, write, all these kinds of statements are included in output statements. The assignment statements, they include the calculation part, calculation and assignment part. Let us see the different types of statements used in sequential constructs. So sequential construct, as told, it can include, so as explained earlier, sequential constructs includes three types of statements. So as you can see here, there is a input statement. So input, generally I told input or read statement. See, this statement is used to input the data from input devices, that is the input devices like say keyboard. We are inputting the data from, we are collecting the data from keyboard to the program. So data, when you enter through the keyboard, that data has to be picked up from the keyboard or a input device, and that is done by the input statements. Then we have assignment statements. Assignment statements is assigning the values or the data. So once we read the data, it has to be saved or stored, and to store the data we are using assignment statement. So to assign any value, we will be using equals. A is equal to 10, 10 will be assigned to A. C is equal to A plus B, A and B will be added and assigned to C. Assigning is nothing but storing. So to store the values, any calculated value or a value, we will be using assignment statements. Then from the program, if you want to store the values in the memory, and to store the values, we will be using assignment statements. Then we have the output statement. Output statement, the job of a output statement is to generally output or print the values from the program to the output device, that is monitor. From the program, the values are sent to the output device, that is monitor, using output statement. For example, output statement can be output or write or print. These are the output statements. Let me repeat, in the sequential construct means, so sequential constructs means executing the program from beginning to end. There is no change in the order. From beginning till the end, the statements are executed one after the other in the order in which they have been placed from the beginning to end. So one by one the statements run ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So sequentially we have three types of statements. One is the input statement. So what is the job of input statement? The job of an input statement is used to read the data from keyboard, collect the data which is coming from the input devices. For example, when you are typing the data from keyboard, the data has to be picked up or inputted, accepted, and that is done by the input statement. Then we have the assignment statement. Assignment statement is we are using to store the values from your program. You want to store the values to the memory. For that we will be using assignment statements. Generally, the assignment statement includes the equal sign. So with the equal sign you can assign the values to the memory from your C++ or any program. So equals is a assignment operator which will store the required value. Then we have a output statement. A output statement is a statement where we used to print or output the data from our program to the output device, that is monitor. From our program we are outputting the data to the monitor. So these are the three types of statements, sequential statements. Sequence means from the beginning to the end, one by one the statements are executed and there is no change in the order of execution of the statements. Next comes the selection statements. Selection statement, it is also called as conditional construct. Sometimes I don't want all the statements are executed. I want to run only few statements. For example, I have two numbers. I have to print whether the two numbers are A and B. I don't want to print A is largest and B is largest. I want to print either A is largest or B is largest. I want to print largest among both the numbers. I don't want to print both the statements. I want to select only one statement given. In that case, we will be going for the selection constructs. The selection construct, it is also called as the conditional construct. Conditional means we are giving a condition, the criteria. Only if the condition is satisfied, some appropriate steps we can take. For example, you have taken admission for the course, say EBA. So we are discussing about the selection constructs. Selection construct, it is also called the conditional constructs. When do we use this? I don't want to execute all the statements from the beginning to end, and I need to take a decision based on the condition. A condition can be given, based on that we want some execution to happen. So generally selection construct, they are also called as decision making constructs or they are called as conditional constructs. So this selection constructs helps the programmer to take a decision. So the decision can be taken using the selection constructs. So there are 5 kinds of selection constructs. Already one example for each we have seen in the previous session of algorithm and flowchart. Again we will be discussing that in detail. There are 5 kinds of selection statements. They are simple if else, if, nested if and multiple selection. So selection constructs are helpful in decision making. So a programmer can, as we know that computer is a dumb machine, it is not able to take any decision on its own. So if we can make a computer to take a decision. So we can make a computer to take a decision or with the help of selection constructs. With the help of selection constructs, we can or we in the sense the programmer can take appropriate decisions. And we have 5 selection constructs, that is simple if else, if, nested if and multiple selection. So let's check out each one of them in detail. Let's start with simple if. Simple if, there is one condition. If the given condition is true, the statements are executed. So here the decision is done based on the condition. The condition can be true or false. Only if the given condition is true, the statements are executed. If the given condition is false, the statements are never executed. This is called one-way branch. So you can see here, if there is a test condition, if the test condition is true, then the statement 1 is executed. This structure helps to decide the execution of a particular statement. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ರನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ನು, ಆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಟ್ರೂ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ರನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದರೆ ಆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ರನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್, ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೆವರ್ executed. The statement is never executed. Let's see one example here. If amount is greater than or equal to 5,000, discount is equal to 10%. Imagine a shop, they are giving a discount only for the bill amount greater than or equal to 5,000. 5,000ಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಡಿಸ್ಕೌಂಟು 10% ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲದ್ರೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕೌಂಟ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಹಿಯರ್ there is one condition. The condition is what? Amount ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ? Amount 5,000 above ಇದ್ದರೆ then we will give the discount. Otherwise we will not give any discount. Discount is given only if the condition is, what is the condition? The condition is the bill amount should be greater than 5,000. If bill amount is less than 5,000, the discount will not be given. So you can see here there is a condition. Condition can be true or it can be false. Only if the condition is true, the statement is executed. If the condition is false, there is no statement that is executed. So this is simple if statement. It is also called a one-way branch. That means only one condition is given. Only if the condition is true, then the statements are executed. If the condition is not true, if it is false, the statement is not executed. So hope you have understood this simple if statement. We have already used this to find the greatest among two numbers. Large is equal to a. First we are storing one value, first value to large, and then we are comparing the second value. If second value, that is b, is greater than large, if b is greater than large, then large is equal to b. Likewise, we have also written a program where we have checked or printed largest among three numbers. Kindly go back to the previous sessions and check the programs or algorithms and flowcharts written for the comparison or finding the largest among three numbers. So using simple if, it is also called as one-way branching, where only if it is true, a statement is executed. If it is the given condition is false, the statements are not executed. So in the next session we will be discussing two-way branching. Two-way branching is nothing but a condition is given, the condition can be true or false. So if the given condition is true, one set of statements can be executed. If the given condition is false, another set of statements can be executed, and that can be done using if else statements. So next class we will be learning about two-way branching and nested if statements. Thanks for your patience listening. God bless you all, my dear students. Have a great day ahead.